Welcome back to Get Educated. In the last 2 videos, we learned the truth about our first 2 of 5 women who have had their history changed or modified over time. Let's move on to the 3rd segment of our series, A Misrepresented Truth, 5 Women Who Defined History. Real quick, if you have not yet, make sure that you subscribe down below. This video marks our halfway point, so I decided to go with a rather scandalous tale, which not only tells of a historical empress coming to power, but also the amazingly obscene lies that follow her legacy to this day. Catherine the Great, a fierce empress of Russia. Please be aware to all kids, this video does have some nasty things mentioned in it that may not be appropriate for your little ears. So this is your warning. It's Russia. Now, on to Catherine's mistruths. A real rags to riches story for the young German princess, Sophie Friedrich August von Anhalt-Zerstorberg. Try saying that 5 times fast. Well, you can't. Although born a princess by blood, there was no wealth to her family's name. In fact, they were pretty much flat broke. So when Elizabeth, the Empress of Russia, needed a woman of royal blood but no claim to her throne to marry her nephew and grandson of Peter the Great, Peter III, Sophie was the perfect candidate. Now, never having learned much about Russian history, I wasn't sure what to expect, but HOLY ROMANOV is at one bloody, overthrowing, chaotic mess. Elizabeth was the daughter of Peter the Great, but after he died, she didn't inherit the throne for another 15 years. A lot happened in that time span for Elizabeth, and after several attempted courtships which failed to result in a marriage, she needed another way to make an heir. So at the age of 14, young Sophie headed to Russia. And by 16, she became the Grand Duchess Catherine after marrying her cousin, Peter III. Now, during this point in history, it really was not uncommon for royals to marry within their own bloodline. But this marriage was a complete failure from the start. It is said Peter III, who was also born in Germany,
that's my kingdom, you know,
really hated everything about Russia.
I hate it. You will too.
He was also a bit of a moron, and it is rumored that he and Catherine were never able to consummate their marriage. And with no consummation meant no baby, and that just would not do for Elizabeth.
Are you pregnant? No. Disappointing.
So, in her last efforts to get Catherine knocked up, she invited to court Sergei Saltykov for one purpose and one purpose only. Now, they had to make it look like the child was Peter's, but it's not like they had paternity tests back then. After 8 long years, Catherine finally gave birth to a son, Paul I. Now, things get a little dark here for Catherine. Elizabeth felt that Paul was her son, so within minutes after giving birth, Elizabeth took the baby from Catherine and raised him on her own. Although Paul knew that Catherine was biologically his mother, this would put an everlasting strain on their relationship. But Catherine's story, as you can guess, is far from over. The Empress Elizabeth died on January 5th, 1762, which meant the crown would fall to Peter III, though it would not stay on his head for long. Remember how I mentioned that Peter hated everything Russian? Well, he decided within days of becoming emperor that Russia would be going German. And that didn't go over too well with Russian military who had been fighting in a war against Germany for the past several years. So it was not hard for Catherine to gain the strength of the Imperial Guard and take control of Russia on July 9th, 1762. It was also in Catherine's favor that her lover, Grigory Orlov, and his brother Alexei were 2 well-known, highly ranked officers who were able to gain the support they needed to succeed in the coup.
Root out this evil and restore the true Russia!
Huzzah!
Swear allegiance to Catherine, Empress by the grace of God.
Although the first 10 years of her reign is streaked with war and revolution, again, it's Russia, she still managed to accomplish some amazing feats. And yes, we'll get to the naughty stuff, you perverts. Catherine, like many great rulers, encouraged writing, poetry, and reading. However, what sets Catherine aside from the others is her focus on encouraging women rather than just the men. She even helped create the Smolny Institute for Noble Maidens, which was the first state-financed educational institution in Europe for women.
Wow, no wonder she wanted to lead.
As you can tell, Catherine is known for being quite an enlightened thinker. She even had a close relationship with the great Voltaire, even though it said they never got to meet in person. Now here comes the dirty part. Despite trying to reform Russia and expanding her border over 200,000 square miles, she's best remembered for, well, getting crushed to death while attempting to have intercourse with a stallion. Yeah, a stallion. Apparently the straps broke.
People of Russia, as your Empress, my legacy shall be expanding Russia's borders, growing her armies, building palaces that will be admired for centuries.
We heard you had sex with a horse!
Yeah, let's go ahead and drop a false on that one. First off, these rumors started years after her death. Second, Catherine actually died of a stroke. Not as interesting, but definitely not reputation-shattering. So who started this rumor of her untimely demise? There's a lot of suspicions around Paul's court, including Paul himself, but the truth is, we may never actually know. However, having the straps of a horse sex contraption break and crush her to death at the age of 67, I would say they went a little above and beyond with this rumor. But why? Well, I think what we can decipher is that somebody seemed to want to tarnish the Empress's reputation so terribly that it would follow her throughout time and history. Possibly because if they made history remember her as some crazy exotic sex freak, then maybe they would forget all the incredible things that she did manage to accomplish. And with that, Catherine II, or Catherine the Great, was the last solo empress of Russia. Is Russia? And there's the bell. Our next video, which holds our 4th misrepresented woman, shall be out soon. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you know the second it's posted. As always, my favorite resources are listed below. Thanks as always for watching. This is DylanMarie, signing out. Stay educated, everyone.
I am not a pretty jasmine flower with swimming pools for eyes, you fat fuck. I am terrifying.